Welcome to another day in the Matrix. This is Waters Above. It's been a dramatic week in crypto. I'm sure most of you are aware. We had the SEC's X account get hacked on January 9th, leaking confirmation of the Bitcoin ETF approvals. Then moments after that, we saw every official crypto exchange posting that the ETFs were approved based off of a fake tweet. Trading volume spiked instantly, and we saw an almost 8% correction from the rejection level right below 48k Bitcoin, showing that this was a false breakout and that the whales had established a sell wall right at that 48k price target. And this can all be confirmed as of today since the ETFs were officially approved as of yesterday, right around market close, and making today the first official trading day for these ETFs. And so far, Bitcoin has only traded above this 48k level for about 30 minutes, followed by a noticeable correction back into the same trading range that we were in days before the ETFs were approved. Today's trading volume is also nothing out of the ordinary. We have pretty much nothing to see here, and I believe a lot was learned over the past 24 hours. This was something that I warned about here on this channel months before these ETFs were even approved. It's important to know these technical markers because so many mainstream financial analysts sensationalized this event to make it seem like trillions of dollars were just going to instantly flow into Bitcoin after these ETFs were approved. And that's just not how this works. And it can be proven by peeking at today's trading volume. What we're seeing right now is just another day in the Matrix. So getting back to this SEC account hack, it actually happened on the exact day that I decoded for there to be a crypto ritual. And what are the odds an official government organization's social media account gets hacked on that exact day of January 9th? Especially from an agency that's consistently telling their investors and investors as a whole to trust updates only from official SEC accounts. So you gotta love the game they play and their rituals. It's all scripted. If you know, you know. So in today's video, we're gonna recap this week's price action for these Bitcoin ETFs going live and share the setup moving into this upcoming weekend. We'll be going over this Bitcoin play to review everything that's happened since my last video, as well as checking in with the Bitcoin CME and Bitcoin dominance charts for a broad overview of the crypto market. We'll take a moment to look at the S&P 500 as well, because there's some data in the traditional markets that's supporting my thesis for what could be happening over the next couple weeks moving into the month of February. So if you're new here, we do cryptocurrency technical analysis and combine it with Gematria, Numerology, and Astrology to understand these markets. Feel free to subscribe and turn on the bell notification to stay updated on when new videos come out. And make sure to give this video a like and share this channel with other conscious beings to help grow our community. And with that being said, let's take the clear pill. So revisiting my last video titled 99% of crypto investors are not prepared for this. In this video, I spoke about expecting a 47 to 48k Bitcoin, which was a recap of the analysis that I've shared on Bitcoin from over half a year ago, talking about a move into this golden pocket territory between the 618 and 786 fib levels. You could see them pictured right here, between 39k and 50k. This video was released on January 2nd. Bitcoin then went on to hit 47k within a week of this video coming out. And as mentioned in the intro of today's video, Bitcoin has officially traded into the 48k level as well, with a rejection right below 49k so far. And you can go to the timestamp of this video around 18 minutes, 25 seconds. It's where I talk about de-risking my Bitcoin position between 47k, 48k, regardless of the ETF approvals. I also said the same thing months before Bitcoin even moved into this 40k territory. To me, this was purely a technical play, and I wasn't letting this ETF thing get in the way of my investment thesis. Now, I also said very clearly that, of course, we can trade into 48K, maybe even 52K based off the full move into this golden pocket that we've seen happen in past cycles. But regardless, I always de-risk early, ahead of the crowd, because one thing that I've learned since being in this game for some time now is that on the day of the quote-unquote top, it's very common for exchanges to drop the ball and have liquidity issues. All of a sudden, those exchanges that were working perfectly fine seem to not work when you need them to the most, or they have a scheduled maintenance that comes out of nowhere. I've been through that so many times that it's just starting to get old. So because I've been in this market actively trading as a professional trader, professional technical analyst, and educator in this space, I rather get out early. And I'm not personally concerned with getting the exact top. All that matters is where did I get in and where did I get out? When you have my level of patience, you'd understand too. And when you operate like this and then zoom out, you see how you were able to calmly navigate this tsunami. That's just my style. So I've effectively de-risked my position a couple days ago on Bitcoin in January 8th at 47K. I shared all of this information over on my X account right here, gave the update live when it occurred. And one other thing to share, to be very clear, we have two things that we want to talk about really quickly. One is that I just de-risked and I did not sell all of my Bitcoin. And two, I sold on this exact date of January 8th because of a pattern that was playing out. And it's been playing out 8 out of 13 years in Bitcoin's chart history. And so far, this would actually be the 9th year. So this is incredible data. I showed you this in the last video I released. There was a pattern for Bitcoin playing out between the dates of January 6th through January 8th, showing that those are the dates of the highest daily closes for Bitcoin for the remainder of the month of January, and usually the month of February as well. And in many instances even, Bitcoin was down from the January 8th highs all the way until June or July of that year. Basically, you'd be de-risking 6 months in advance before recovery. So I already had an incredible amount of data behind this de-risking decision, but what sealed the deal was a decode that I shared for the date of January 9th. I was just showing you that a moment ago. And once I put together that decode, I knew I was onto something about this January 6th through 8th date. So let's recap so you could all see the power behind this system I'm sharing here. I not only considered the technical analysis on the move up to this 47 to 48K play, as shown here, but we had a pattern that was coming up over and over again, showing the highest daily close for the month of January is happening between the 6th till the 8th, going back to 2012 in Bitcoin's trading history. And I don't want to start any drama here, but since I released my last video, I had several people trying to say that another popular YouTuber shared this pattern for January 1st. And I'm not going to say any names because I'm not dramatic like that, but you can look at the date that I posted this video, January 2nd, and then you could look at the date that they posted their video, and you can see that I released this 3 days before theirs. So I'm not sure why anyone would come at me with this type of energy without looking at the dates the videos were released first. And by the way, this isn't a competition. I'm not throwing shade at any other creators, but you got to remember, I've been through this so many times on this channel with the Shemitah, the 7-year cycle, the sabbatical year, with the moon phases, moon phase analysis, with the solar and lunar cycles, utilizing eclipses as big pivot points in energy for the market, to even the Wolf Cross, the 8 and the 55 SMA, using the 888 fib extension, the 702. I mean, I can go on and on. And my ego doesn't need the recognition or to be given credit for these things. That doesn't matter to me. But what I do want is for people who are watching us creators to stop turning this into a competition of who's the best and who is right or wrong, or who predicted this or who predicted that. It's just so toxic, and it shows where someone's at in their life. Because the only person that acts like that is someone who is purely a consumer and has no creative essence in their life. See, once you start serving your purpose, you stop putting everyone on a scale, and you start looking at yourself in the mirror for once. So I suggest create something and share it with the world before you start putting everyone on an invisible scale of your ego. So my response back to all of this is, I personally think it's great that other analysts are using the moon cycles now. I think it's amazing to see people considering these more esoteric perspectives as part of their investment thesis. I don't need any credit for that stuff. The real ones know. And it's all love here. It's all about collaboration. And I never assume anyone's copying me. I take it with positive intent, and I assume it's just coincidence, because at the end of the day, why lower my frequency because of something like that? What we're doing here is different. Now, that January 6th through January 8th pattern, so far, it's working out perfectly. Even with today's wick up to a new microcycle high, you can still see that January 8th is effectively the highest daily close in this month. So far, this was 100% accurate, and it played out exactly how it has in all of the past cycles I showed you in my last video. So you can go back to that last video, maybe go to around the 17-minute timestamp. I explained everything in depth, and I want to quickly go back to the example of topping out in January that seems we're the closest to mimicking right now. And that has everything to do with January of 2012. So I'm going to be pulling up some of this data. I believe it'll be helpful here. We're going back to this time frame here on the Bitcoin chart, and this move, and this was one of the first examples I gave actually in that last video. And you can see that we moved up to the January 8th date. We had our highest daily close on that exact date. We actually traded quite sideways, and we were choppy until the 16th of January, and then Bitcoin broke support the following day. Pretty sharp correction on January 17th, followed by a continuation of the downside, which was a total of about 45%, 46%. And where that led us was to the lows of the month of February. And that was the lowest that Bitcoin traded at for the remainder of the cycle. Now, what's also really important about this, when you tie in the esoteric, is that this was the same Chinese zodiac year that we're in as I speak. And we were moving into the year of the dragon in Chinese zodiac. And we're about to move into the Chinese year of the dragon on February 10th. It's pretty much the same exact pattern playing out. And we're making a lot of connections here. So again, if you're brand new to this channel, we're not just looking at the charts, we're not just decoding, we're combining everything together to have a holistic system. So what's pretty fascinating about this January 8th pattern and this particular daily close is you'll see that we did not close another daily candle higher until July of that year, which again was during the year of the dragon, and we're moving into the year of the dragon about a month from today's video. And I'll be releasing my full Year of the Dragon Decoded presentation in a couple weeks. I'll update you all when that's ready. I did one last year and the year before. The last one, Year of the Rabbit, was really fun to share with everyone, and I believe it was groundbreaking. It provided so much data that led us to some big things to occur in that year. Everything from the Titanic ritual that happened with the Titan submersible, that was mind-blowing to see that happen to those specific dates. Watching that retail banking black swan on March 10th with what happened with Silicon Valley Bank, I mean, just really wild stuff if you go back down memory lane. But I can't wait to get this Year of the Dragon Decoded out there. We're moving into that year right now, ahead of schedule. We're early in this whole move, and we've been on top of it every step of the way. So now what I want to do is I want to go over to the 2016 cycle over here. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because it has a similarity from a technical perspective of trading into the macro golden pocket as we are right now. And you can see that we topped out and then it followed by about a 40% pullback. It took about 45 days. And in both examples that I just showed you, it was a 40% correction with about 40 days of time. 42 to 45 days to be exact. And what's amazing about this structure right here is we topped out just below the top of the golden pocket. Now, if you look at where we're at today, and you see right here, I'm sorry for all the noise on the chart, but just to show you what I'm saying here, this is the top of the golden pocket, just like here, top of the golden pocket. And we're within just kissing that level. And thus far today, Bitcoin has not been able to get above that level. So I think that's pretty important. This is a piece of information that I shared in my last video as well, that if Bitcoin even was to ride up because of this exoteric Bitcoin ETF distraction, if it was to get above the golden pocket, you still want a daily close above that golden pocket. And I was very confident that even if we do trade above it, I doubt we're going to have a daily close higher. And that's, again, it's not my opinion, it's technical analysis. We have not seen it happen. Even back here, where we overextended above the golden pocket, we still closed that same daily below it, and then we went into a very deep correction. And this cycle before could not close above the golden pocket, 40% correction. Over here in this cycle, we didn't even actually get close to the top of the golden pocket, but we still had a deep correction. And then it took us some time to recover. This is what I was seeing to happen at this stage of the cycle. So getting back to the 42 to 45 days off the January 8th highs, I just want to show you really quickly that if we were to take that amount of time and just put it 45 days, this brings us to the date of February 22nd. And why that's really powerful is because that's just 2 days before the February full moon. That's perfectly aligned with the data I've shared in my previous video regarding the stock market. So I'd personally put a window of time around the February full moon of February 24th, and that being February 19th through the 29th. That would be our window to consider. And we'll clear this all up in the next video as well, but we're far enough out from this that we'll be more than prepared, and I'm sharing this information with you today. This gives us a solid range to expect as an initial move to the downside, if in fact we have topped out in the short term, and if in fact this whole Bitcoin ETF move was priced in, which is what I'm leaning towards. And if this gets invalidated and Bitcoin keeps going up to a new all-time high all of a sudden, then it's all good because I only de-risked my position. I did not sell all of my Bitcoin, but I am confident that this whole move up to this 40K level and trading in this golden pocket, all of this was happening because it was pricing in this very moment for this ETF to be launched. I also want everyone to consider that the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ have a very noticeable double top structure, which is something to consider. And it's very normal for the S&P actually to top out by mid-January and then not recover until late March or early April, and that move is a bull trap. So we do have deeper corrections coming into the month of May usually, and we have some data here in the stock market to actually show this. When we have the month of April and May on these red candles, those are two of the few actual negative months for the markets. I believe that's going to happen this year as well. So just kind of finalizing my thesis here on aligning both the stock market and the crypto market, I do think a deeper sell-off will be triggered by the next FOMC meeting for the overall markets on January 31st. So keep the next FOMC meeting in mind at the last day of this month. So let's do some quick analysis on Bitcoin for the short term and the setup into this weekend and next week. We're over here looking at the all-time Bitcoin chart, the index chart. I just want to show you, I'm going to take off all this noise and we're going to bring up just the moving averages right now. And I want everyone to focus on this red moving average, which is the 34 EMA. If we were to close a daily below the 34 EMA, I do believe that'll signal a flush to the downside. And what I'd like to see personally is a daily close below the 34, followed by a wolf cross. So the wolf cross is the 8 below the 55. And right now we're looking pretty good. We did get a flash to retest the 55, but our 8 is still trading, it's sloping to the upside. So we would like to see a downward slope. We would like to see that cross, and then we would feel super confident about a deeper correction. Now, I could prove this too because we've seen this happen many times in the past. Right over here, when the 8 got below this 55, we had one more bull trap, but essentially continued to the downside. Now, it's very clear over here. Look at this. This was the same example just in the 2016 cycle. And once we had this cross of the 8 below the 55, look at that. Huge dump down to the 200s. Now we're going to go over to this cycle over here. You're going to see the same thing. We had our initial flash down, quick bounce, but then look, once we had our 8 cross below the 55, that was the last chance. So do not disregard the wolf cross. It's super powerful. Chief Wolf told you. So one other thing to mention about this, and looking at where these 200 EMAs are situated, somewhere around this 32 to 34K, I do want to talk about how everything that we're talking about is a setup for that deeper correction down to those levels. I do think 32K is highly likely coming soon, at least before the end of the summer. I mean, it would make the most sense for it to happen very soon. And what we're about to get into is just quickly combining what we're seeing with the CME chart and making sense of all of this. So just to quick recap on what we're seeing with the CME gap slightly below 40K, that would be closing dailies below this 55. And if we close below that, that's a lights out move to me. I do think we'd be coming down into this 30K area. Now, I did talk about that it's very normal to see about a 40% correction based on where we're at in this cycle. And if I was to show you the level that we've topped today and pull 40% down, it would bring me to around 29K Bitcoin. That's not weird. Bitcoin has done this every time it makes its way into this golden pocket territory. So that would not be weird to me if we got as low as 29 or even 27K. But I think it will be bought up very quickly. I do believe that if it made it that deep, that it'll be bought back fast. So just keep that in mind. But I would be personally setting my limit orders to reaccumulate Bitcoin right below 30K. I know it's a little bit more on the extremes of the data, but I feel pretty confident that at least that 29 to 31K will get swiped through. So I'll adjust later if needed, but I've already made such a solid play on this whole Bitcoin move thus far. I'm not getting greedy. Let's quickly look at Bitcoin dominance because there's something to talk about here, and it's just to reiterate a idea based off of a question that I was asked in this recent Bearable Bull interview that I had. So shout out to Bearable Bull. We'll be getting into that in a moment too. But we have Bitcoin dominance here. I'm going to turn off all of these moving averages, and we're just going to look at this major trend line that's in play here. So we had a trend line support that goes back to November, and it was supported pretty much for a full year. We had a impulse to the upside right there in December, and then a sharp rejection. And we can see by zooming in here that when we fell through this trend line and started closing dailies below it, we came back up, and then right here around pretty much just Christmas time, we got a noticeable rejection. But look at the sequence of red candles, how perpetual they were, followed by the sequence of green candles. To me, this was 100% orchestrated to go like this. I have not really seen any pattern that looks this clean of red to greens in this V shape. It's just, it looks so artificial and driven by trading bots. So whatever's been moving and rotating around the alts and Bitcoin is doing it in a non-human level. AI is clearly running a lot of this. So getting back to this idea here, I do believe this is something important to talk about because if you have a prior support that gets tested and a rejection, you could essentially start confirming it's a resistance. You would want to wait though for confirmations if we were to close dailies below 51%, and that would be 51% based on this chart. I'm aware this is the TradingView CryptoCap chart. If you look at CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap, you might see different data, but just looking at this chart right here, if you get rejected off of your prior support, well, you would confirm resistance after you start closing lower lows. So keep that in mind. Now, I've been getting this question quite a bit about if I think there will be a rotation, a alt season, if you will. And a lot of people want to know if there will be a rotation from Bitcoins into the altcoins at this time. And although that would be ideal for altcoin holders, and I am one of those personally, I am not convinced that an entire altcoin market is ready to just run yet. That's typically something that happens after Bitcoin price discovery. So you'd need Bitcoin going into 70,000 plus for that sort of energy to kick in. All right. So, of course, there's been isolated incidences of alts just doing really well at this stage of the cycle. I think Solana is a great example. How we had this run up pretty much from September 2023 till around Christmas time. And 2023 was an incredible year for Solana. And we covered this recently, and we're just showing the example right now. We see that this Solana run up into the technical range that we were just talking about a moment ago. I'm going to remove that so you can see what I'm saying here. You can see the macro golden pocket. Well, that's exactly what Bitcoin is doing right now, and what Bitcoin has done in all past cycles since 2012. This is just how projects move. Sometimes they happen earlier, sometimes they happen a little bit more synchronized with Bitcoin. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because if you know TA, then you know when to de-risk. And this is why I revealed several videos ago that I see a 70% correction coming for Solana based off this rejection around $119 on Christmas Day. Day of Christ, day of the Son of God, who is Helios, or as the Romans called it, Sol. It's just right there in front of our faces. And I showed you all about this pattern that played out back in 2000 for Solana. And what happened was we corrected into the solstice, and the lowest we closed on that day of December 23rd was $1.19. And here we are seeing the Solana chart trade into the same time of year, closing the daily at 119. The 119 code, which is the 911 code, the Twin Towers. And since I've put out those warnings, Solana has actually already had a 30% correction from the current top down to these swing lows. But this bounce that we're getting right now is very normal, considering that we're in a new moon, and new moons are bullish, as I teach. When we're moving into new moons, that's a bullish time frame. And then when we're moving out of a new moon into a full moon, that is bearish. So because today is a new moon, we still have about 3 to 4 days to get through the cycle, and then we should be having correction energy. So I'm expecting this current play on Solana to be a dead cat bounce, effectively where we're at right now, a rejection. Once we close a daily below 88, I do think we're going to be making our way down to this lower golden pocket territory around $68, and that will be the first stop on several stops to the downside, all the way down to this 382 fib, which is another very technical play. Now, on the other hand, we have an example of why I have a hard time believing that there will be a rotation into altcoins right now, and it's in the Cardano chart. I think this will also be helpful for everyone to get clarity. Again, there's no drama here, there's no sensationalism. I'm just showing you what I'm seeing in these charts. So we're going back in the Cardano chart, and why I think this is a great example is because there is chart history going back into 2017. So this project had a parabolic blow-off top style bull run in the alt season of 2017 to 2018. Then it had a full bear market, and this gives us enough data now to utilize. And another thing to mention about Cardano is the timing of where it topped out. So I want to show you a couple things, but first and foremost, we know that Cardano is within the top 10 based on market cap. It would be ranked 6th in total market cap if we didn't include the stable coins. So I do believe this is a great example, and I want to show you how the automatic rally worked for Bitcoin back in 2019. This is very undeniable stuff, but I just want to show you so we have proof here. So we have this cycle over here, one of the most famous cycles for Bitcoin, from this swing high of 2017 to this swing low of 2018. And then we have this move right here. In Wyckoff, this would be called an automatic rally. I'm going to zoom in and show you the exact date that this topped out. June 26th. Keep that in mind. June 26th, 2019. Now we're going into Ethereum. We're going to zoom in at the same time frame. Look at the day, the highest price. June 26th of 2019. Now we're going to go over to the Cardano chart. We're going to see what day that this made its highest price. I'm going to zoom in, and you have right here, June 26th. It was the highest it went. All right. So this is really important because during this phase of moving up into this mini bull trap, if you will, there was no rotation into alts. Everything topped out at a similar time and then folded over. Okay. So one other thing to show you, so this is undeniable, is this style of chart over here where we have, I'm going to make this a little bit larger. I'm going to turn off these moving averages and show you. You see how we moved up into this 382 area, got rejected slightly below it? It's the same case right now with Cardano. We're getting right above the 382 followed by a rejection. So I mean, it's pretty much matching up identical. We are watching everything sort of top out at the same time, and I think this exoteric Bitcoin ETF narrative was by design to happen right now. Now, I'm not saying that this is the end for the Cardano run. I'm just showing you some examples that has brought me to develop my own personal investment thesis to make up my mind that I do not see a rotation into altcoins right now. It's unlikely for this to happen at the scale and magnitude that many believe, meaning I do not see an alt season happening right now. I believe you will need Bitcoin to break 70,000 in order for that to happen. But this is a big but. I do have a feeling that an isolated move is going to happen in XRP. And I shared these thoughts in my last interview with the Bearable Bull. It revisits something that I actually shared with him during several interviews that we did together. And it had to do with the month of March and April of 2024. And that's about 3 months away from today. And before I get into that, I just want to take a trip down memory lane really quickly. This is important because either you might be new to my channel or you perhaps forgot where I'm at with my overall investment thesis, trading plan, and long-term outlook on XRP. And this is important because the channel is growing and I've connected with so many great leaders in this space who are open-minded to my methods. And of course, this brings up new people giving attention to the channel, new subscribers. So I want to take this trip down the 2023 memory lane since we just kicked off this new year of 2024. And a large percentage of my subscribers are primarily XRP holders and advocates of Ripple's technology and vision for the future blockchain economy. So if you watch those interviews that I did with Bearable Bull back then, this was a while ago. Believe it or not. If you watch those interviews back then, for instance, there was our second interview that was posted on the Bearable Bulls channel on April 8th of 2023. You can see that right here. This video was titled The Truth About Ripple XRP with Waters Above. And you'd remember in this me exposing that I'd be personally de-risking my XRP position between 80 to 90 cents. Before we connected for this interview, I was publicly talking about investing in XRP in the month of February and March of 2023, with my last short-term accumulations around March 3rd, 2023, with an average entry position around 36 cents XRP. I'm going to go play by play. I'm going to be as transparent as possible. Everything I'm saying right now is either on YouTube videos or it's been posted within our Discord. But I know for a fact everything that I'm paying the most attention to right now is public information. So I had the intention of de-risking between 80 to 90 cents. And right after the Bearable Bull posted this interview, I actually got a ton of negative feedback because I was talking about selling XRP under $1. And in response, I shared a tweet basically telling everyone where I'm at with all of this, just speaking my truth. And the post a couple days before that was to call out the tribalism in this space because it was getting seriously toxic back then. And honestly, it's still toxic today, sadly, but that's just the way it goes here in crypto world. I'm used to it. So here we have back in April 2023, tweets that are exposing my next target of 83 cents and an upper target of at least 91 cents to $1. Well, 3 months later, XRP went to 93 to 94 cents across most exchanges on July 13th, 2023. The accuracy on this speaks for itself. And I'm not doing this to flex. I'm just doing this to remind those who are quick to forget and for those who are new here that we're not just pulling numbers out of nowhere. So then in early August, I shared another update for sub 60 cent XRP, talking about that this move that we made up, this type of impulse, was not holding and we're likely to retest these lower levels. Well, XRP broke down into the 50 cent range shortly after. I then released a video after this correction stating that I still see a 70 cent XRP before the end of 2023, regardless of it trading into the sub 50 cent range. Essentially, a run up into 70 cents would be a technical play, what would be called an automatic rally in Wyckoff method. So then November comes around, XRP hits 70 cents before the end of the year. Then I shared that the daily RSI is getting overheated and to expect another correction. Now, anyone who follows Bearable Bull's channel, they'll know he even shared this in one of his videos, going over this exact tweet. We talked about it hitting 70 cents before the end of the year after everything I just explained. Well, right after this, we had another correction. And all throughout this time, I kept saying publicly, anything under 60 cent XRP is a gift. And I still stick to those words today. I haven't sold a single XRP since I de-risked back in July 2023, between 83 to 93 cents. My average between all my sell limit orders was 86 cents to be exact. And since then, I've made 5 accumulations on XRP, all shared with live updates in our community's Discord, and all of those accumulations were under 60 cents. I'm just practicing what I'm teaching. It's all tracked in our community Discord, which is one of the perks included for Patreon supporters. So I really appreciate anyone's support. If you'd like to get live updates of when I'm personally buying and selling my investments, that's just one of the features of our Discord server included with the Mastermind community membership over at patreon.com/watersabove. I appreciate the support. It really means the world to me. And more importantly, it's just so amazing to see what our community is doing during volatile times like this, when retail is getting sucked into the market after it gets bullish, not being interested in it when it's boring and bloody. So we've been here through the entire bear market, staying consistent, keeping our emotions on the sideline and taking action and not letting any of these distractions get in the way. And what we're doing here is unmatched. We really have the best community in the space. I'm grateful for every single one of you that shares this vision here. So again, I went through this rundown to remind those who just started watching this channel a couple months ago, to set the record straight. This is back to back to back to back plays on this project. And some of you just started watching here a couple months ago and you're losing your grip over a $1 XRP by the end of 2023. And no one ever said that. What was said and what was shown was a fractal that was playing out on XRP for the past half a year. And the fractal showed a breakout target to the macro golden pocket right over here of this current cycle, which shows XRP making an impulse move to around $1.20 around the January new moon, which is today, January 11th. This was clearly stated in several videos that this is a fractal that has been playing out in the past, and we're tracking the fractal step by step. This is fractal analysis. That's how it was presented, and that's how it's been tracked and followed since it was presented. And it's sad that so many people just read titles and clearly don't watch the actual analysis or listen to what's being said. And I know a majority of you get it and are actually trying to develop a skill here. And when you come to this channel, you're taking notes and you're here to actually absorb the information to make yourself more self-reliant. That's honorable. And if you're one of those people, you'll do incredibly well in this cycle because you're putting in the work to learn a skill. But to the rest, or what I would call the loud minority, I just have one piece of advice. If you want to actually profit in these markets, then it's time to learn a skill. And while you're learning that skill, listen curiously and speak curiously. And move on from this Karen energy in the doldrums of the comment section. You're better than that. I know you are. And even if you don't vibe with this, at least take some time to research what it is you're complaining about before you complain, because that victim energy is going to keep you in a vicious cycle of perpetually making bad investment decisions. I get it. This is spicy. It's going to get hot in the sauna sometimes, but these are the words that need to be spoken. We're wolves here, and wolves don't point fingers and bitch and moan. That's the energy of bulls and bears. Let them play their game. And if you want to rely on someone telling you exactly what to do with your money, and you want to avoid developing the skills required to make moves with your money based off of your investment decisions, well, then maybe this channel isn't for you. We're all about self-reliance here and exposing the truth about what runs these markets, which is Gematria, Numerology, and Astrology. And this is how I was able to discover these patterns and ultimately take action when the time was right for me, without getting sucked into the emotional vortex of mainstream media and the drama going on at x.com or fall for some influencer's beliefs. None of that concerns me. Here we're applying the skills of decoding and technical analysis combined together to create arguably one of the most groundbreaking market decoding systems in existence. And we're getting more dialed in here year after year, and we're honestly just getting started. I know 2024 will be the most transformational year of our lives, but you need to put in the work. You need to surround yourself with people who are promoting your growth, not the drama and tribalism of the one-coiners. So since we're on the subject, let's get into the XRP analysis and see what's been going on since this Bitcoin ETF approval yesterday. So we have this chart over here, this white support trend line. I'm actually going to be pulling up this chart. I think it'll be more effective. I'm going to be pulling up the daily. I'm going to point out a couple things for everyone. So we've had this white support trend line in play for a long time now. It pretty much goes back to the genesis of this XRP chart, showing you some pretty important levels. But what it's been really working with lately is this current cycle. So we have this C19 crash support. We had the start of the Ripple SEC case lawsuit touched at the bottom, and then all throughout this bear market, continuously holding supports there. So just recently, as of a couple days ago, we flashed into this lower trend line, and it's continued to hold this up as a support. So that's very positive. Because of the length of this trend line and the way it's been playing out, I'd personally utilize this for any deeper corrections and accumulation opportunities. So getting into this month's full moon around January 25th, if we were to time that out, that'd be bringing us to around 51 to 53 cents on the downside, which is right around this macro 236 fib. That's a critical level for XRP with the current horizontal structure that we've formed since the breakout of July 2023 that I spoke about earlier. Now, we also have a triangle pattern that broke to the downside, and based on this wick up to 70 cents, I could just show you this really quickly, that we did actually complete this measured move on the flash that came in the other day. So I know I just made it a little bit more exaggerated, but the reason I did that is because we're looking at a logarithmic chart and we're looking at an altcoin. So you can see that we've essentially filled that all in on the 3rd of January. And since we've had this all go down, we can see that XRP is doing something called a kickback Essentially, after you break bearish out of a bullish pattern, since this pattern was forming after a micro uptrend, you can see today we're kicking back into the pattern. We're actually getting rejected off the current resistance of the pattern. But since we're essentially at the apex of this triangle, it's getting close to being completed, and we want to prioritize the horizontal structure at this time. And that's why I pointed out those levels on the downside. So if we are to have any more pullbacks, 51 to 53 cents are in the cards. I know we've already swiped through all of that, but that would make a lot of sense to have a final kind of, boredom moment for XRP, because that's the last thing I'm going to say about this. What we're experiencing right now in XRP is a boredom moment. They want you as XRP investors to feel like you're losing. They want you to be in despair. They want you to be depressed. That's what the market maker does before it goes straight line breakout. It's what happened right over here too. We see this happen in this project quite a bit, where it just randomly takes off. So I want you to keep all that stuff in mind. And I personally have this intuitive feeling that XRP is getting ready to do something that it's done in the past, and it has everything to do with the months of March and April, and it will be isolated to XRP specifically. So if we were to have a 40% correction on Bitcoin, I don't really think it's going to be as big of an impact on XRP given its situation. So I have this chart that I'm going to be working on behind the scenes. It's very close to being completed. I plan on presenting it for the first time in my next Red Pill podcast. I'll be releasing this upcoming Sunday, January 14th, over at patreon.com/watersabove. So if you're joining, I appreciate your support. That's going to be an incredible podcast. You're not going to want to miss it. So I think this will provide that missing puzzle piece for what the next big move is for XRP. And to wrap up the XRP analysis, I'm incredibly bullish on XRP for 2024. We're still in an accumulation phase. We just need to get through the Bitcoin halving. And please know that this is the most important time to be aware of what's going on in this space, because so many investors are going to miss out on accumulating these discounted projects while they continue to buy tops on stuff that's getting the spotlight. So no judgment, but we can learn a lot from those people. A lot of investors, this might be your first chance to finally profit off of a cycle. So don't let your past mistakes dictate how this goes for you this time around. And we'll be here sharing our truth every step of the way. So I am bullish on XRP. I have not sold a single XRP since back here in July. I'm not selling right now. I will not sell until we get over $2. I've been very, very clear about that, regardless of the $1, $1.20, $1 levels that are coming once we can recover. So just to wrap this up with ETH has effectively hit the outside of a prior trend line that was holding as a support from November 2022 all the way until around July. This is the first time we're touching the outside of it, and I do believe this is the completion of the ETH move. I do not see it going much higher. I don't see it getting to the top of the golden pocket like we did with the Bitcoin or Solana play. I believe we're getting very close to this topping out. I did talk about a $2,500 ETH because of the year of the rabbit, that having the 25 and 52 code. I personally started de-risking over the past couple days in Ethereum. Again, I'm not trying to hit the perfect top. I'm just trying to get out early. I feel really good about the ETH play. I'm a long-term ETH holder, so this is just de-risking to then buy in more ETH after these rejections. So I'm going to wrap this one up here. I appreciate every single one of you. I'm wishing you all a beautiful rest of your week. I'll catch some of you on this week's live stream and some of you in this Sunday's Red Pill podcast. Much love.